So here we are in Boranup Forest, and I think I left a little bit early. It's still pretty much pitch black, and I don't know, I think I have to wait. There isn't any fog. I didn't think there was going to get any fog, but you always hope. It's probably not cold enough, but the sun is about to come up in about half an hour or more, so we'll see what we can get. So I set out this morning to come to Boranup, and it's not a great morning for it actually. There's no light. There's a big cloud bank on the horizon. There is a bit of a gap, so we may get something a little bit later on. But I've just come up here to the Boranup lookout, and just to see what was happening. This is the only place where you actually get some light, because right down in the canopy you pretty much you don't see anything for ages, any light that is. But you know, Boranup Forest is a great place to photograph. You have that classic view where you come around the road, it curves down, and you can look down across the valley, and there's just karri trees everywhere. It's quite spectacular. But it's a big area. Everyone seems to go to the same spot all the time. I go to the same spot all the time, so I'm trying to go somewhere a little bit different now. Up here at the lookout, you can see right down over to Augusta, and if you look, you probably can see Black Point from here, or close to it anyway. And then behind me is Hamlin Bay, which is beautiful as well. There's some great spots down there to photograph. There's the old jetty, which is quite nice. It sort of goes out, it's all broken down and sort of just sticks going into the water, that classic sort of thing. You know, I've got a nice shot I took there way back when with my old Canon camera, and it was like a 2-minute exposure, and I had to do something. I had to hold something somewhere or something. I can't remember exactly what it was, but it was like I had to hold this thing steady for 2 minutes. Ended up getting a good shot, but geez, it was a bit of work. But yeah, over behind me, so you've got Boranup Beach over that way, which is fantastic. You've got Hamlin Bay, and then past Hamlin Bay you've got Cozy Corner. I think my one called Foul Bay? No. Yeah. Foul Bay, Cozy Corner, and then Deep Dean, and then down to Augusta. All great stuff to explore, and if you've got a 4-wheel drive you can get out there and see a lot of it. But now just waiting for the sun, a bit of light. And I think when you're in the forest, it's nice to have a bit of light. It's nice to have some sun coming in. I mean, low angle sun. You don't want it right overhead because it gets too contrasty. And yeah, the trick, you know, probably the best light actually for photographing in forest is misty, rain, overcast, with, you know, the odd burst of sunlight coming through to highlight all that beautiful atmosphere. But you know, we won't get that today. But the light that you don't want is direct overhead sunlight. You get that, they get those really harsh shadows and really bright highlights, and it just looks awful. So don't photograph at that time of the day if you want to get nice photos. You can do it anyway if you have no other choice, but don't do it. So what have we got in the camera bag today? Well, we've got my beautiful Leica SL2 with a 24-90mm lens. That's my go-to lens, which is pretty special. Covers a nice range of focal lengths, and I use that for when I'm doing my urban stuff. If I'm shooting from the car window, that one's a beauty, because it allows me to just zoom in and out and not have to move the car too much. That's if I'm lazy and don't get out of the car, which is pretty much most of the time. I've also got my 16-35, which is great for my landscape work. And here I have a little Sigma. This is my macro. It's a 105, and it is a ball-tearingly sharp, nice little lens, and cheap. That's what I love. It's an L mount. So as we know with Leica, they have the L mount alliance. So anything from Panasonic and Sigma will go with the Leica. What else in my bag? I've got just some cleaning stuff, spare battery, filter, ND filter, 10 stop, and my trigger for my Jinbei lights, which I haven't got my lights with me. So what we have here is a classic curve in the road shot, and these are the ones that you always kind of look for because they're nice. You know, you get this curving road that goes through between the curry trees. It's when you're just photographing straight into the forest, it can be nice, but unless you've got some direction, if there's some sort of flow or something that takes you into the shot, it can look a little bit just like, you know, sticks in the bush sort of thing. So what I like to do is have some sort of leading line, and what I forgot to do was bring my mega mast with me. I've got this thing called a mega mast, which is like a 20-meter pole, and I put my camera on the top of that. I use an app for my Leica, and I can trigger it from the app, and I can see, you know, the view on the phone, what I'm looking at, and then I can adjust the composition and all that sort of stuff. So, but I didn't bring that today, so I'm looking for a little bit of height where I can look down across the valley and see into the scene, because it just gives you that, you know, when you're above the foreground, it just opens things up and it makes the shots more interesting. So I'm going to shoot this. I've got my 24-90 on, and I'm going to probably zoom in a little bit, just compress it a bit, because if I'm too wide, there's nothing too close to me in the foreground that's really interesting. So the best stuff is a bit further down, but I want to keep that curve going. So I've just stepped back a little bit, and I'm just going to zoom in a little bit. So let's see how that goes. So I'm just taking another multi-shot image right now. It's doing its thing. One thing that I always say to people is when you're out shooting is to always make sure you look behind you, because you never know what's back there. You never know what's happening with the light. So, you know, you have to be really aware of what's going on around you, and you know, keep your eyes open, because sometimes the best composition may be behind you. It might be, you know, in the opposite direction to what you expect. So keep an eye on the light, keep an eye on where you are, the scenes. Walk around, look around. Don't just set your tripod down and start shooting. Make sure you kind of know what you want to get. I've been photographing for over 31 years, so I know exactly where I want to take that photo. You know, I just have been doing it long enough to really understand where the camera should be pointed. Saying that, I don't get it right all the time, but I get it right more often than not. That sounds a bit arrogant. Anyway, maybe I should take more photos. Okay, I found another composition just over in the bush a little bit. So we're just going to wander through and be careful not to destroy everything. And I've just taken a wrong turn already. Got my camera set up over here, and let's see what we can see. Okay, so this is the other composition I found, and I just quite like the fact there's a bit of a valley in front, and the hill sort of rises up behind with a few nice carries on it. So I'm going to photograph that. Now you can see my composition here. Now you probably look at it and go, oh, it's a little bit bottom heavy, but I've done that because I wanted to straighten up the trees a little bit. Now I'm going to shoot that on the multi-shot mode, so I'll get a big file, and then I'm going to crop that whole foreground out, and it kind of corrects the perspective. Of course, I found a really great composition, but didn't take the video camera, so I'm a little bit puffed because I ran back to the car to get it. Anyway, here I am. I'll show you the composition. So here it is. Now, of course, I happened to park my car a little bit too close to where I'm shooting, and which is the way I work. Everyone that knows me knows that's what I do. This is the shot that I've just taken. So we've had some beautiful light out here in the forest this morning, so it's at one of those classic overcasts. It's kind of like a light overcast, and then every now and then a little bit of sunlight sort of pokes out. So it's been quite nice for photography. I've got a few good shots. Some that I think will be gallery worthy, which well, that's up to my wife to decide whether that's the case. But part of the reason for coming down here is because my mum wants a photo of Boranup Forest for her place, and I'm not sure if I've got any that I like enough to give to her, so I'm going to make sure I do something special for her. Okay, so it's time to head home. I've had a fairly good luck here at Boranup. I've got a couple of shots that I'm pretty happy with. Every time I get in the car and drive somewhere, I see another angle that I probably should stop and photograph, but I've got to get back home and get back into other things. Washing. Got to do my washing. But on the way home, I think I might just stop in at Conto's and have a look there. There's a really nice lookout, and I want to show you guys that is an excellent place to make good photographs. Anyway, my wife is calling, so I better hang up and answer that one. Hilarious, I just spoke to my wife, and she got up this morning and thought that I was still in bed, so she got up and into the lounge room and turned the TV on really quietly and was being really quiet, making sure that no one disturbed me, and didn't realise. And then after about an hour, she thought, this is ridiculous, he's sleeping in way too long. So she gets up and walks into the room, and I'm not there because I'm in Boranup. The sun is coming out. Look at that. Better find a composition. It's looking quite nice. Nice we had some fog, but no such luck today. Well, just when I thought it was going to be grey all day, the clouds have disappeared. It's completely blue sky now, and we managed to get some really nice light. So I found a composition where I could look back into the light and be sort of shaded by some of the trunks of the trees, and that kind of created like an almost looked like a fog. It was like a slight mist in the air, and I'll probably enhance that in post anyway. But this is my little composition. I'll just see if I can walk you through it. I'm walking away from it now. I was looking back along this little track, and obviously I was using a longer focal length than this video camera can record, but yeah, it was quite nice. And I did two things. I used the multi-shot mode to get a really to get a very large file, and I also stitched a whole heap of images together as well. So that's the other way. I mean, if you haven't got multi-shot on your camera, I mean, just take more shots, multi-shots. It's all pretty straightforward, really, isn't it? But yeah, I've had fun this morning. I'm really starting to feel like I need a coffee though. And yeah, it's a beautiful spot. If you get the chance to come down this way, make sure you come to Boranup. But don't go just straight to the place where everyone goes. Try and find some other little tracks. I'm on a little track now that is so narrow you probably wouldn't really want to bring your car up. So if you've got a push bike, put your camera around your shoulder, get on your bike, and you'll be able to find some really cool stuff that no one else has shot. So this is the most popular spot at Boranup Forest. It's the main place where everyone sort of comes and looks at, because it is so spectacular. I mean, it's just all open and beautiful karri trees, really spectacular. I was here one time with my mate Mark, and we were all alone. It was really early in the morning, and it was really still. There wasn't any other sound, and all of a sudden there was this loud, sounded almost like an explosion, and we didn't know what it was, but we assumed it was a tree coming down, or maybe a sinkhole opening up. This place is all full of caves. It's incredible how many caves there are through this whole area. It's all limestone. Fantastic. So here we are. This is at Contos, my favourite place to paraglide. Actually, my wife is a bit of a thrill seeker, and when I met her, she decided that we were going to learn how to paraglide, and I was shit scared of doing it, but we were just going out, so how could I be a pussy? I had to learn how to paraglide. But this became one of our favourite flying spots, and it's also a beautiful spot to photograph. So let's go and have a look and see what you think. So this is the parking area. You can see where my car's parked there, and then just across from that, this is at the very top of the hill. It's probably the highest point on the track down to the Contos campground, or beach, sorry, not the campground, because the campground's inland a little bit. It used to be able to camp, but you got this little track here that I'm just walking backwards up now. This is where you walk down, and we'll go from here. So this is the launch site. So you'd put your paraglider out there, and then you would inflate it, obviously when you had a nice westerly breeze, and then you just run down this little ramp here, and before you knew it, you were airborne and off, and you would just fly this ridge from one side to the other. It certainly is spectacular. It's a surf spot down here as well, so if you're into surfing. And then if you're a good pilot and you had good conditions, you would land back at the top here. But if it was marginal, then you would land down on the beach, and sometimes down on that little patch of green grass down there, which used to be the campsite when you're allowed to camp here.